I'm Jutta Malnic, and you are here now to see my exhibition Mwaga. It's a can at the end of the world, and it's called the end of the world because beyond this island, the Lachlan Islands, there are thousands of kilometers of Pacific Ocean, and it really is the end of the world. The people from the mainland call it the end of the world. When I was there with my camera, I walked around and I saw that bird, and feeding, and I just took photographs of that bird. In the Torbian Islands, in the Lachlan Islands, there is the the uncle will always um, take charge of his nephew and of the upbringing and the education of it, and they will always go over to Kanakrock, sail over there to fetch a fledgling, sort of like a pet for the child, and there was this bird. The uncle had built a birdhouse on the high water line of the island, and I saw this and I photographed this bird, and from there I followed around, and the bird was like a pet because the children would play with it. They would throw it into the water, and then the bird would want to come back and to be thrown in again, and there it would whirl around in the circle of the kid. And so I had photographed all the elements of that story, and that is in the exhibition, and I think after the war, uh, I well, there was the end of the war. Berlin was crushed. A big city. It was the end, and and so on. So what to do now? And then I heard somebody said that the letter house was still open at the technical college. So I decided maybe I should. What will I do? Or maybe X-ray technician or something like that. But then when I went there, I thought there was a course on photography. So I said, oh yeah, that's it. And so I had 2 years there. But in the meantime, I saw an advertisement in the paper for an apprentice to a Berichterstatter, which is a sort of a photojournalist. Actually, was the top man in Berlin, Hans-Hennig Hartmann, and so, and well, I think there were on to 300 would-he applicants, and queuing up. Well, I sat it out, and I got the job. But the job was actually in the beginning mainly to clean up his kitchen, clean up his bath, and actually, and farewell his girlfriends at the end of the week. So we come back in 1948. Mother finally decided that we should all reunite. My siblings were evacuated during the war, and we should all come back for her to Sydney, Australia, where her family was still here, and so we had a safe landing. And we came out, and it was rather marvelous because we were like kids although all early 20s already, and so we were like kids, lovely, on the ship 6 weeks, then via Africa and so on. Well, that was the family reunion that we had been deprived of during the war, and settled in Manly, and well, then later on, eventually we ended up here. I was at university in Berlin for only 2.5 semesters, and but outside Berlin, the Alexander von Humboldt University in Berlin, there was a statue of Alexander von Humboldt, and because that was at the end of the war, and literally there was just nobody you could fall in love with. When you're younger, you have to love somebody or some man or something. And so I fell in love with Alexander von Humboldt's statue. And and then I read up about it and so on, and I decided, I want to see the Pacific. And that's why I had this energetic push on Mom. The Alexander von Humboldt sort of pushed me to come here, you know. I did the cruises for them as onboard photographer. 72 cruises over 20 years. To all, literally, nearly all. I can even say I didn't go to the Marquesas, I got couple of the, but I have seen the Pacific more than many, if not all, everybody else. When I was here, and through this reporter who launched the publicity here for, organized the publicity for Ian's here, I was taken to a dress salon in William Street in the city, Honey Wilson's, and it was called Boris Salon. And they immediately said, "Oh, you must have an exhibition here." Oh, they got all the young social kids from the school, Frensham School, the young girls, and they got all the young sort of just leavers there, and their parents said, "Oh, I want a portrait." So they started me off doing portraits of all these social girls. So I immediately had an opening to the social world, which became immediately all weddings and all big functions and meetings in Sydney. I was the photographer. There was no one else. Also, my approach was always as well to photograph what people did and on their level and so on, and nothing all set up or something. Or I mean, if they wanted to have a group photo, yes, so on. But then also the human bits. It was quite. It was different to what anybody here was trained to do, you know. I mean, I would photograph things like, one mother sort of stumbled with her stiletto heels, and she ripped a seam of her long dress open, etc., you know, and then she stumbled and so on. And then I photographed her sewing up the hem before they could even leave for the church, you know. And but that sort of, well, it was all human. What happens, you know? I always kept in mind there has to be a story. I still do that with whatever I do now. The story. Actually, that's my main message. Record what you record as a story with a beginning and a middle and an end.